What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back inside the UC Health Training Center for today's edition of Broncos Now. Team reporter and host Sydney Jones here. And coming up on today's episode, we'll hear from quarterback Russell Wilson, safety Justin Simmons, and head coach Nathaniel Hackett as they all spoke to the media today. Plus, I'll have the latest injury report, and Phil Milani joins the show. All that and more coming up. The team was back at practice today as they turn the page and look ahead to their Monday night matchup versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The Broncos will look to get their first win over an AFC West opponent, and safety Justin Simmons put it very simply today. This is a must-win game.
Oh, yeah, it's a must-win. That's as urgent as it can be. You know, it's a must-win for us on Monday night. They're already believe it's 1-1, and so they already have a win in the division, and we need to get ours. So it's a must win on Monday.
And head coach Nathaniel Hackett also talked about this matchup and the kind of threat that Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert poses.
For us, we're 0-1 right now in the West. The past is the past. Right now, we got to find a way to win a football game, and it happens to be a West opponent, which makes it more exciting because it's a rivalry. It's a very good football team, and we got to get out there and we got to get after him. First and foremost, he can just drop back and play quarterback, and then when things don't work out or the pocket collapses, he can take off and he can run, and he's an elite runner. He's got very good speed. And he also has the ability to keep his eyes downfield and find explosive plays down the field. So I think that's what really stresses a defense more than anything. You want to try to keep him in the pocket as much as you possibly can, because when he gets out, that sometimes, and that's not necessarily how we draw it up. Whenever there's a scramble, it looks really cool, but his just ability to create when things aren't perfect, I think is the thing that he does best.
Quarterback Russell Wilson also spoke to the media today and talked about trusting his process as the offense looks to improve week in and week out.
Your commitment individually as a competitor and everything else is, to me, it's always been focused on the process. And the end result happens, and it just you stay focused on that. And throughout the challenges, throughout the great times, throughout the tough times, you stay consistent. You stay consistent with your thought process, your language, your energy, how you practice, how you go about your business, how you get here early, how you leave late. And that goes for all of us as a team. And we're committed to that, and that's the thing that you stand on. You stand on the consistency of your process and how you get ready.
Justin Simmons has been on IR the last 4 weeks due to a quad injury he suffered in the Broncos season opener versus Seahawks. And today he discussed what he's seen from the team during that time.
I see a really good team. Just most times it seems like, we hurt ourselves. And obviously, when you're going up when you're playing against other good teams in the NFL, you're not going to win too many games by hurting yourself. And so, that's defense included. And I think there's room for growth in all three phases. And that's just like the mentality you got to have, right? Like, you can't buy into the negative, you can't buy into the positive. You just take it 1 week at a time. And I know, we talked about it before, but you really just got to have that 1-0 mindset. Every week and just find little things to improve on. So that's what I saw.
And as we wrap up the top news of the day, let's take a look at today's injury report. Coach Hackett announced during his press conference today that both Josie Jewell and Dawn Reiser did not participate in practice. While safety Caden Stearns, tight end Eric Saubert, running back Mike Boone, quarterback Russell Wilson, defensive lineman Mike Purcell, guard and center Quinn Miners, cornerback Darius Phillips, outside linebacker Jonathan Cooper, cornerback K'Wan Williams, offensive lineman Billy Turner, and cornerback Damari Mathis were all limited. Russell updated us on his shoulder during his press conference today and said that he's doing a lot better and that it's feeling better every day. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into today's news. So joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio is fellow team reporter Phil Milani. Phil, thanks for joining me again. It feels like it's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah, the Broncos, 10, 11 days off in between games, so I missed you.
I know, I missed you too. Did you get a nice little break?
Yes, it was a good little mini bye week. Good to relax a little bit.
Yeah, well, Phil, we got a lot to get to today. So first and foremost, we heard from Russell Wilson today, and he said that his shoulder is feeling much better and is getting better day by day. He said it isn't anything he's ever dealt with before, but He said he'll be okay and ready to go. So this is all good news for Monday.
Yeah, I think like for his status, you were never really concerned, okay, is he going to be able to play or not? I think it's just something to keep an eye on, maybe more so, and is this limiting him in any way?
Right.
And like Nathaniel Hackett was asked about that today, and he didn't really like get into it. He just sort of said, hey, Russ has been in this league a long time. This is his 11th year. He knows how to sort of handle things. And like at this point in the season, all players are like a little bit dinged up. But
Right.
I think that Russ in practice has looked like nothing's wrong. He's going through his normal practice routine and stuff, and there still seems to be like plenty of zip on the ball. So just something maybe to watch come game day. But yeah, as far as what he's talked about it, he said, hey, I'll be all right. I'll be good to go. So
Russ also talked a lot today about kind of his process. And someone asked him, one of the reporters asked him if he might change his process, now that we're a couple weeks into the season. He said no. He said his process works with him. He's very consistent in his process. He talked a lot today just about motivation as, we get a couple weeks into the season now. I mean, he's always so positive.
He's really positive.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when he's up at the press conference, like at the podium, it feels like he's giving like a pregame speech or something, like
Feel
talking
a little
about, I enjoy adversity. You're always going to face adversity no matter what. And it's just how you choose to react to it, respond to it. And, I think you need that from your quarterback, from your leader, just somebody
Right.
who maintains the confidence, is really like unwavering in that. I think that helps this Broncos team, especially so many young guys on this Broncos team that like they've never
Absolutely.
won in the NFL. I mean, even Justin Simmons and Cortland Sutton, those guys are other captains, but they've never really experienced a lot of success in the NFL. So, like, just to have that guy that they can rely on that, like, hey, it's the fourth quarter. Maybe things haven't gone the way that they've all wanted it to, but Russ is just always confident they're going to win the game. So,
Right.
I don't think that he will ever change his routine, or, he knows that it works for him, and
He's been doing
so
it for many years.
regimented.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, he's like so about his routine. So I don't think that he's changing anything.
Well, Phil, it was nice to see Justin Simmons back on the podium today. He said he's feeling great and is really hopeful he can go on Monday. I know this defense, they've been playing at such a high level so far this season, but what do you think it will mean to get Justin back, the leader of this defense back?
He's going to have some big shoes to fill.
I know. Caden's been looking
he's
good.
played really well. Had 2 interceptions against the Colts the other night.
Right.
So Justin Simmons, hey, you better step it up. No, it's good to have that leader back there, that communicator. Justin Simmons, just played that first game, and he said that he got hurt early in that game. So we haven't really seen the full Justin Simmons yet this season, and it'll be good to see him back out there. And I guess it's good to know that, hey, the Broncos have some depth at that position.
Oh, yeah.
One of the few positions now where there's so many injuries all across this team, at least at the safety position, there's a little bit of depth there. PJ Locke looks like he's working his way back too. So that you've got your first team and second team all ready to go in case anything is needed.
Well, something I thought that was interesting today, Phil, that Justin said, he said, this team just brings something a little bit different than any of these teams prior that he's been on, despite being 2-3, there's still belief that they can turn things around. What did you think about that?
I think that's like kind of what comes from Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
That
I
is
completely agree.
sort of that same mindset. I mean, the difference in this year's team is that there's a belief that this team is growing and it'll eventually get to where it wants to be, where everything's sort of humming along. But through 5 weeks, we just haven't seen it yet.
Right.
Each of these games, even the games the Broncos have won, it's come right down to the wire, and they've been like drag it out kind of games. It would be nice if one of them, everything just clicked. Where it wasn't like into the fourth where you were worried about what was going to happen, or maybe you're relying on Russ to just come and do it. I think that there's just this belief that eventually it will click.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you're like a realist and sort of like pragmatic about it, you're like, look, the Broncos are 2-3. They haven't really looked great in any of their 5 games. So that is what they are. But on the other side of the coin, there is a belief that there's too much talent on this team, that the struggle, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that they'll continue. And, Nathaniel Hackett's talked so much about feast and famine. They're able to hit the big plays, but then they shoot themselves in the foot. There's a feeling like, okay, if you just correct some of these things, eventually things will work out for this team, especially come in the red zone, like just being able to score a couple of touchdowns here or there.
Yeah.
Then the outcome of some of these games might change a little bit. But until they prove it, they're this 2-3 football team. So what we've seen is what they are. And so until they do it, they are a 2-3 football team.
Does that mean you're a realist, Phil? Or are you more an optimist here?
I don't know. What am I? I choose to be an optimist, but I think that the last 5 or 6 years around here makes you sort of feel like, oh gosh, maybe we overhyped this team. Yeah. Maybe we talked too much and maybe we thought that it was just going to all work. But I think my natural personality is to be more optimistic.
Phil, you mentioned, waiting for this offense to click. We've heard, week in and week out, Coach Hackett say that they're improving and evaluating little things here and there to build up to that. Do you think maybe this might be the week that they click now that they had some extra time with this mini bye week to really hone in on some of those details?
For the Broncos' sake, I hope so. I mean, Justin Simmons sort of called this a must-win game. Mm-hmm. He did call it a must-win game, and I agree with him. I think if you think about it, 2-4, if the Broncos lose, is way different than 3-3, especially since they've already lost one division game. There's all these win the West signs around the building. They had those T-shirts. They talk about the importance of winning the West. They need to win this game. I mean, you don't want to be 0-2 in the division. You don't want to drop to 2-4 on the year. Yeah. So there is a lot riding on this, especially coming off of a little bit of a break here. Mm-hmm. The guys who are healthy should be well rested. This gave a chance for all the coaches to do a little bit of a self-scout. Sorry.
No, you're good.
A self-scout. So hopefully they can work out whatever was going on there. And I think you heard similar messages from Hackett and Wilson today that if you just clean up the things, the penalties, the negative plays, then it'll work out. But gosh, the Chargers are a really good football team. I mean, Khalil Mack is on that side of the ball.
Both sides, yeah.
Derwin James. I mean, those are two of the best players at their positions in the entire NFL. So, no Joey Bosa. He's hurt, so not going to play in this one. Maybe no Keenan Allen. We'll have to see where he is injury-wise, but this is a good team, and it really starts with Justin Herbert. You heard Hackett talk about how he's able to really run and extend the play, and he can look downfield and hit you with a big play.
Explosive plays, yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, I know that we talked about the 49ers being the toughest test for the Broncos when they played that week.
Yep.
This Chargers team might be better than the 49ers. So
I think so, too.
This is going to be one heck of a challenge, and there's a lot riding on it.
Well, Phil, with a couple days left of practice before this team heads to Los Angeles, what do you think's kind of the mindset? What does this team really rally around as they're getting ready?
I think they just got to rally around the fact that this is a must-win game.
Yeah.
Now it's time to just really put it up. And I think that maybe it's Justin Simmons coming back. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the possibility of Greg Dulcich returning.
Yeah.
Or just playing. Returning off the IR. Mm-hmm. I don't know, that maybe just the fact that you feel like you've been able to do some good things, but it hasn't really translated to a lot of points. Maybe you feel like, hey, eventually this thing's got to level out, and the weird things that have been happening in the red zone, those will stop. You heard Hackett say earlier this week that there's mostly just been growing pains. Maybe you believe that, hey, it's the 6th game now. Maybe we'll get a little bit more familiar. I think that's what you have to sort of rally around. Maybe the defense has been playing really well. You believe that that'll continue, and then on the offensive side, eventually this thing will click. I mean, I think that's what you sort of have to believe in, and you sort of just believe, look, Russell Wilson is on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Right.
Those type of players don't all of a sudden just fall off a cliff come week 11.
Right.
Year 11.
Year 11.
So, like, you don't.
And he was playing really well at the end of last season, too.
Yeah.
Things don't just.
So you don't just sort of just fade away all of a sudden. And he played really well against the Raiders, especially in that first half. So, like, maybe you just think, look, he had a bad game against the Colts. He admitted that it was a bad game. He put the loss on him. And that you're just like, look, he's not going to play like that again. Mm-hmm. And he talks so much about facing adversity. The Broncos are in a moment that's really critical. Let's see how they come through this and just know that, hey, Russ is our quarterback. He's going to figure this thing out, so let's go do it.
Yep. Well, a lot to watch for, a lot to hope
Was
for,
I convincing
Phil.
there? I don't know. I'm not as good as Russ.
Yeah.
You know, he makes you believe it a little bit more. So
No, I believe it, Phil.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's what they got to do.
Yep. Well, Phil, appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining me on the show today.
Thanks, Sydney.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in today and every day. I hope you meet me right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow evening for another episode. I'll see you all then.